Okay, 6 a.m. out here on Lake Cascade, a couple hours north of Boise. About to shoot some birds. I'm here with my good friend Moose.
What's up, everybody?
And we're going to teach you a little bit about sensory and perception while we're at it. Let's get started. Oh, you hear that? We got birds flying in. Okay, so we don't have any birds flying right now, so this is good timing for first lesson of the day on touch. Now, our nerve endings are heavily concentrated in our fingertips, and those will respond to temperature or pressure. Okay, now today, because it's pretty darn cold, we're going to focus on temperature. It's, what is it out, like 30? It's
30.
It's like 30 degrees out, so we're pretty darn cold already. No gloves either. So if we touch something like our cold gun, oh, there we go, cold gun, or the water, I'll put my hand in the water. I'm not really going to feel a change because my hands are already so darn cold. But if I touch the hot barrel, or let me see your hand warmers, I'm going to feel a little bit of a change, which is nice. Ooh, that is nice.
Yeah.
Okay. First lesson of the day. Thank you. Okay. Still no birds flying, unfortunately. Moose is getting bored. But we're going to move on to lesson 2, vision. Now, I don't have my notebook in front of me, so we'll see how much I can remember how this goes. But anyways, starting off, light is reflected off objects and then enters our eyes. Okay, a good example right now is that pond out there. You can see that. Now, the color we perceive out there is determined by two things: intensity and wavelength. Intensity is how much energy that light contains, and that determines the brightness. And the wavelength determines the hue, okay? Now, once the light enters our eyes, first it goes through our cornea, which is that outer protective layer shell, then goes through the pupil, then the iris. The iris constricts the pupil. It determines how much light enters our eyes. Goes from the iris to the lens, which then does something kind of weird. It turns the image upside down and then inverts it, and that is then projected onto our retina. Okay, and then finally, the image goes from the retina to our brain through optic nerves. Okay, these optic nerves take the left side of each retina, left and right eye, the left side of the retina to the left side of the brain, right side of the retina to the right side of the brain. Okay. And that's what I can remember so far. Okay, we're cleaning up, so it's time for our last lesson of the day, and it's going to be on hearing. There's a long process to this. There's a lot of parts in your ear, and I'll try and explain it the best I can. So we hear sounds through sound waves, and they have amplitude, which is height, which determines loudness, and length, frequency, wavelength, that determines the pitch of the sound. Now, these sound waves enter your outer ear, the pinna they call it, travel down the ear canal until they hit the eardrum, which is a thin membrane that collects these vibrations and sends it to ossicles, which are 3 small bones you have in your ear, called the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. Now, these ossicles then send those vibrations to the oval window, which is attached to the cochlea. It's this fluid-filled shell that has hair cells on the bottom of it, okay? Now, when that oval window vibrates, it moves that fluid in the cochlea, which then moves the hair cells. And those hair cells transmits those sounds through auditory nerves to your brain, and that's how you decipher and hear sounds. Now, a big problem with hunting is actually deafness. And there's 2 types of deafness. Conduction deafness and nerve deafness. Now, conduction or conductive deafness is more of a birth problem. It's not, you don't hear of it too often later in life. But the nerve deafness is when someone says they blew their eardrum. They usually didn't blow their eardrum. They usually damaged the hair cells in that cochlea, and that's why a lot of hunters can't hear at an old age. But anyways, that's hearing, and that's sensory and perception. Thank you very much.